99% of the world is unaware of how significant Ripple and XRP is. You might be thinking, Nick, that's clickbait. You know, it's nonsense. You could say that, or you could look into the facts. 6.5 million XRP wallets exist out there. Of that 6.5 million, I would argue about half of that could be tied back to retail investors. So arguably about 3.2 million wallets actually exist out there holding XRP. The percentage, like I said, of the global population it's minuscule. This is also why I keep saying that, you know, when we think about people saying, oh, they're not going to let everyone get rich off of XRP, they're not. So it's a good thing that, you know, less than, 99, like we're talking about 1%, the new 1% could easily be made through XRP because 99% of the world is asleep at the wheel. But let's actually talk about this. Number 1, on-chain finance is here. What is your custody strategy? When we think about custody, specifically Ripple custody, we look into this and we think, all right, well, tokenization is going to become a reality. Stablecoins are already here. Institutions are embracing the tech. When we think about what Ripple is providing, they are providing that one-stop shop for institutions at a time, right? Where institutional grade adoption is only continuing to accelerate. We know that back in the end of February of this year, the XRP ledger got a complete breakdown of an institutional DeFi roadmap. And this showed us that Ripple was accelerating the XRP ledger's growth by tapping into the institutional side of things. Now, institutional DeFi is a game changer. It's a game changer because this is going to bring a flood of users and value to not just, XRP, right? It's not just XRP, but the entire space institutions are not just stopping with bringing tokenized assets on chain. They're not just stopping with, DeFi initiatives. They are going all in on crypto. They want to be a leader around crypto the same exact way that now governments are starting to race towards becoming leaders around crypto. It started with the EU, now it's the US, now it's the UK as well, the UAE. The race is on, and institutions are also racing towards tapping in. Now, if we look into this, we have looking forward ahead, because this is all pertaining back to this post from Ripple, which is institutional DeFi on the XRP ledger. What's live and what's next? Down at the bottom, we have looking forward ahead. As tokenization and decentralized finance continues to evolve, the XRP ledger is positioning itself as a leader in regulated on-chain finance with deep liquidity, compliance-friendly features, and seamless institutional integration. The next phase of institutional and DeFi will be built on the XRP ledger. This is Ripple telling us that the XRP ledger is going to be a leader in this regulated on-chain financial future that's becoming reality. While a dedicated roadmap page is in development, the broader XRP ledger ecosystem is actively shaping the future of institutional DeFi through innovations such as the AMM price oracles, DIDs, and new tokenization standards. And yeah, this is a huge game, sure. And also those decentralized identifiers, those are a game changer, because we know that BlackRock CK's Larry Fink told CNBC that we don't get tokenization at scale without digital identification. Decentralized identifiers could very well be that thing in a decentralized manner, which is very beneficial for, those out there that like to preserve their control over their privacy and their identity itself. So that's a game changer. And of course, the XRP ledger and Ripple are thinking ahead when it comes to that. But, at the end of the day, yeah, we're going to continue to see the DeFi side from the institutional perspective evolve and expand rapidly on the XRP ledger. And that's what leads me to this post as well from RippleX, which was RWA tokenization is accelerating, and the XRP ledger is at the center of driving institutional adoption. Again, more confirmation of just how significant XRP and XRPL are becoming around the institutional adoption of this tech. And then we look into this report from Eliam Tradfi tomorrow, DeFi and the rise of extensible finance. Here we have 76% of firms are currently involved with crypto. This includes Fidelity, Bannock, CME Group, BNY Mellon, And there's so many that are not fully public with this yet, but 76%, that's insane. Also, 66% of TradFi firms are doing something with DeFi. And this is where we look into the institutional side of things. These are the organizations with public announcements. BlackRock, Franklin Templeton, Kexis with JP Morgan, and Visa. You could also throw MasterCard in there. I'm pretty sure MasterCard does have live public announcements as well, but 66% are tapped in on DeFi. This is telling us that a flood is coming to the DeFi space from the institutional side. So we immediately think the XRPL because Ripple has been really putting it in the spotlight. Now we also have TradFi rejects the notion that private blockchains are as valuable as public permissionless blockchains. And yeah, they actually have here that public blockchains enable fairer, easier participation with better connectivity versus private or permission chains. This is also confirming that the XRPL is going to benefit greatly by being that public blockchain that has fairer, easier participation, as well as, the efficiencies around transacting on it are extremely bullish. So all of this type of stuff that's, available on public blockchains, it's so crucial to focus on this because private is not the way to go. JP Morgan, for an example, if we go back, JP Morgan, this Kexis or Kexis, however you want to pronounce it, that's a private blockchain that was originally onyxed by JP Morgan. So the fact that, that's basically all crumbling beneath them because of the idea public blockchains are more valuable. It shows us where we're headed. We're headed into a future where the XRPL is dominating the institutional side of things, especially around DeFi. And we have tradie firms think it's inevitable that DeFi will eventually be critically important to most core businesses here. We have. And as you lengthen the time horizon, traditional finance starts to think that DeFi is inevitable. Here we have how important will DeFi be in 11 to 15 years. We have moderately 37.7%, very 34.3%, and critically 16.3%. Then we have 15 plus years, and 39.3% is very, 28.3% is critically, and 27.3% is moderately. So you can see that DeFi is inevitable. This is all inevitable on the XRP ledger. It's not going to see all of the adoption around DeFi itself, but a large portion of it, I do suspect, will moving over the XRPL. And the reason why I say that is because of the names tied back to Ripple. I mean, Ripple has been an institutional powerhouse for so long, so it makes a lot of sense to have XRP be in the spotlight and basically be that prominent institutional grade network, if you will, around tokenization initiatives, but also DeFi. But also over here we have this impending change mirrors what happened in prior eras of transformation in trading, the acceleration of e-rating, and then of course the shortening the settlement cycle again. This is all like, when we think about what's really going on here, it's all kind of in the same realm. We've had these major revolutions in the past, and you can see how big they were. This is much bigger though. What crypto and, we don't really look at just crypto itself. We look at the processes behind crypto. So when we think about crypto, we think about tokenization. We think about the efficient transactions, but we also have to think about DeFi because DeFi is a game changer. All of that is 10 times, if not 100 times more, bigger than these things like the acceleration of e-rating or even just the settlement cycle being shortened. No, it's much bigger than this. But also over here, we have some of the biggest trading cost drivers involved, back-end technology infrastructure, where blockchains could play a larger role in the future. Here we have regulatory compliance and reporting and risk management. Smart contracts and transparency enable automated risk management. Again, just looking at what's really going on here, all of the things that plague TradFi in a big way are being solved through public blockchains. And it's crazy because we've been talking about this for years and years now. And we even have over here that automation can drive an estimated 25% in cost savings since many financial services are thin margin businesses. This amount of cost savings is a big motivator. And last but not least, TRAFI firms would be even more involved with DeFi if not for regulatory uncertainty, which 52% cited as a factor holding them back. So 52% are being held back still from the uncertainty around regulatory discussions. So if we think about that, right, when regulations are actually involved, when this space is fully regulated, just imagine the floodgates opening around the XRPL. And to really kind of confirm that the XRPL and XRP itself are fully positioned for this, I go over here to this video clip that Subjective Fuse posted recently and even said that many lack the vision about XRP. And that's perfectly fine because a lot of people think that no institutions are buying XRP. No institutions are even involved around XRP. They're not interested in XRP. But listen closely to this video from a Ripple employee. Eric, what are your thoughts? Well, I agree. I think using example of custody, with Ripple Custody, formerly known as Metaseco, it's working with large institutions and making sure that they can scale. We have tremendous coverage of some of the largest financial institutions in Europe, DBS, HSBC, BBVA, Switzerland, and, they're trusting us to come and not only provide custody, but allow them to tokenize and pull it together in one package. So scale is going to happen when some of this fragmentation that we talk about, it kind of is removed. We almost want this to be kind of boring. It should be really clear. It's not like taking a front seat and you spend half the time you meet with a customer just explaining the technology and why they shouldn't be worried about it, but you're really focusing on the benefits that the real world utility that the solution brings. And without that, it's going to be, it's a slog. And I do feel it's getting better. Again, the amount of inbound requests we're getting to meet with large institutions around tokenization products is just astounding VB a year ago. And I think being able to again bring those things together in a very kind of frictionless way is what's really going to allow the real scale to thrive. I mean, that's a big change in a year. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think especially with this, as been referenced, this new administration, even the last several months, I mean, you just look, the crypto market cap is up $1 trillion in the last 6-8 weeks. It's astounding. Now we'll see what the next 6 to 8 weeks, 6 to 8 months brings. But I do feel it's an inflection point, and I think it's poised for significant growth. Now again, there's estimates of a $16 trillion market cap of tokenized assets over by the end of the decade. So there's a long way to go, but I think we're going to see that curve start to steepen. So yeah, I mean, this is confirmation that they are having a ton of inbound requests around tokenization initiatives from the big institutional side. But I just also imagine, what DeFi initiatives look like as well from those ongoing discussions with the biggest institutions in the world. I mean, Ripple is fully positioned to take over here in a big way once we start to see, the keys unlocking these big issues, because again, like, these are the factors holding back these big organizations, aka institutional players, and just regulations alone, 52%. That's significant, which, it seems as though with the ongoing discussions from the SEC, from, even the OC, the FDIC, the Fed, it feels like the space is starting to open up and it's starting to become unlocked. And that's where we really kind of look at the names like Ripple that have been preparing for this for not just the last year or two, but for the last 10 plus years. And XRP shines right in the beginning as well, because of the fact that XRP is now being catered to the institutional side. And even in this article, we have that the XRP ledger is positioning itself as a leader in regulated on-chain finance. So with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. if you guys leave a like, subscribe, notifications on, because for more free content, you guys are more than follow me on Twitter and join the free Discord on description below. And with that being said, guys, Nick, thanks for watching. Peace out.